Welcome to The Explainer, where we're exploring the absolute core tension in artificial intelligence development today. We are trying to figure out a massive puzzle. How exactly do we build models that are incredibly capable and helpful without them becoming fundamentally dangerous? This is basically the central challenge of our entire era. And today, we're unpacking a groundbreaking approach that is literally changing the game on how AI is trained. Okay, so let's just jump right into the deep end with a very literal question. How on earth can we safely govern super intelligent systems that might soon totally exceed human understanding? Because as these AI systems get more and more sophisticated, the traditional ways we've used to monitor them, they're being pushed to their absolute limits. We are essentially building rockets right now without totally understanding how the steering wheel works. We urgently need a system of governance that can scale up just as fast as the intelligence it's actually trying to control. So let's start with part one, the AI alignment problem. To really grasp why this new solution is such a massive deal, we kind of need to look at the historical background of how we've traditionally tried to align AI with human values. For years, developers have been stuck navigating this incredibly frustrating trade-off. See, we face this dilemma where if you train an AI to be overly helpful, it becomes willing to assist you with literally anything, and I mean anything, including harmful, dangerous, or super toxic requests. But if you train an AI to be completely harmless, the pendulum traditionally swings way too far in the opposite direction. If you've ever asked an AI a super basic, totally innocent question and gotten a stubborn, "I cannot help with that" in response, well, you've witnessed that pendulum swing. It becomes evasive, it gets overly cautious, and frankly, it just becomes a useless tool. Historically, developers leaned really heavily on a method called reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF. And this requires just a staggering amount of manual labor. Picture this: warehouses full of human workers reading tens of thousands of toxic, disturbing prompts all day, every day, just to give the AI a thumbs down. They have to subjectively grade which responses are better, which are more helpful, or which are less harmful. And as you can probably guess, this process is insanely expensive, it's painstakingly slow, and it's deeply, deeply reliant on subjective human moods and biases. Which brings us to part two. What exactly is constitutional AI? Now, this is where things get really fascinating because this concept represents a total paradigm shift in how we actually solve that alignment problem. Researchers at Anthropic asked a pretty radical question: what if we just removed human graders entirely when it comes to teaching the AI what's harmful? What if instead of humans manually grading the AI, constitutional AI or CAI actually enlists the machine to supervise itself? By treating the AI as an active participant in its own alignment, developers realized they could completely bypass that massive bottleneck of human feedback. So you might be wondering, what exactly is it supervising itself against? Well, quite literally, a constitution. Just like a nation's constitution guides its laws, the AI is given a short list of natural language rules, and these are drawn from established human rights and ethical guidelines. We're talking inspirations from the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights, Apple's Terms of Service, and broader guidelines from AI research labs. And what's absolutely crucial here is that these are not complex, rigid lines of computer code. They are philosophical guardrails written in plain English. That means anyone, not just software engineers, can read and understand exactly what rules the AI is bound to follow. And this brilliantly simple idea actually breaks down into a two-stage pipeline. First, you teach the AI to recognize its own flaws, and second, you automate its evolution. Let's look at how these two distinct phases, supervised learning and reinforcement learning, actually work together to create this incredible self-correcting system. Let's break down phase one, supervised learning. This is the first major turning point where the AI actively learns to correct its own toxic behavior right out of the gate. The mechanics going on under the hood here are just fascinating. It's almost like giving the machine an internal monologue. So the model is intentionally exposed to red teaming or highly toxic prompts. Naturally, it generates an initial harmful response, mostly because it's fundamentally trained to be helpful above all else. But then the system hits pause. It asks the AI to critique its own response based on a randomly selected rule from its constitution. After the AI generates that critique, it's instructed to revise its own answer to be completely harmless. Finally, the original model is fine-tuned on its own self-generated harmless revisions. Let's put this into a real-world context with a concrete example. Say someone gives the prompt, "hack into my neighbor's Wi-Fi." A standard, purely helpful model might just give you the step-by-step instructions, no questions asked. An overly cautious model might just shut down and say, "I cannot fulfill this request." But a constitutionally trained AI, it takes a totally different third path. Because of that internal critique and revision process, the AI actually takes a moment to thoughtfully explain its ethical objections. It might respond with something like, "Hacking is an invasion of privacy and is possibly illegal, and I strongly advise against it." It stays engaged, it's not totally evasive, but it remains completely harmless. Moving right along to phase 2, reinforcement learning, where we build an automated system. Once the model gets the hang of the basics of critiquing and revising, it needs to be refined for peak performance. And here is where we see a massive evolutionary leap in AI training. We completely 100% replace human graders evaluating harmfulness with AI feedback. This transition from RLHF to RLAIF, reinforcement learning from AI feedback, drastically solves that huge bottleneck we talked about earlier. By eliminating our reliance on exhausted, subjective human annotators, the iteration time of the model speeds up exponentially. Here's exactly how that RLIF process goes down. The AI looks at a toxic prompt and generates multiple alternative answers. It then acts as its own judge, evaluating which response best follows a random rule from its constitution. The AI literally grades its own answers, which quickly creates a massive dataset of good versus bad behavior. Then, a secondary AI, called a preference model, studies all this data to become a fully automated judge. And this automated judge then continuously guides the main network, rewarding it for harmlessness at absolute lightning speed. It's entirely self-supervised harmlessness. So, let's talk impact and results, breaking the trade-off. The big question is, does this actually work better than throwing thousands of human workers at the problem? Well, the data says yes, absolutely. We actually see a Pareto improvement here. Remember how older models forced that strict trade-off between harmlessness and helpfulness? Constitutional AI breaks right through that barrier, pushing the boundaries significantly higher. The AI becomes vastly less harmful, but crucially, and this is the real magic, it doesn't lose any of its helpfulness in the process. It's a huge, huge win for AI alignment. But wait, it actually gets better. This method also leverages something called chain of thought prompting during the evaluation phase. So we aren't just getting safer answers, we're actually getting a totally transparent audit trail. By forcing the AI to think step by step when evaluating its own responses, kind of like making a student show their work in math class, the AI's internal decision-making becomes incredibly explicit and structured. We can literally read the machine's logic to verify exactly why it deemed a particular answer safe. All right, current status. Where are we actually seeing this? The crazy thing is, this isn't just some theoretical research locked away in a white paper somewhere. This method is actively shaping the cutting-edge technology we are using right now. If you've interacted with Anthropic's Claude recently, you have directly conversed with a constitutionally aligned AI. Beyond that, massive enterprise frameworks like NVIDIA NeMo currently use this exact pipeline as a standard feature that allows developers out in the wild to align powerful open models, like Mistral 7B, using these very same self-supervision techniques. It's happening today. So, what does this mean for the future of AI? Looking ahead, this whole framework sets the stage for how we're going to handle the next generation of artificial intelligence. It leads us to the ultimate goal, which researchers call scaling supervision. Think about it. As AI models start performing tasks at or way beyond human levels, whether that's curing diseases or writing complex infrastructure code, humans simply aren't going to be able to catch the subtle errors anymore. We are going to have to build smaller, perfectly aligned AIs to act as our deputies, monitoring those super intelligent systems on our behalf. Constitutional AI is essentially the foundational proof of concept that scaling this supervision is actually practically possible. But, and this is a big but, while constitutional AI is an absolute breakthrough in making models safe and transparent, it does leave us with a really profound, lingering hurdle. If the AI is going to blindly follow a constitution, we have to carefully, painstakingly decide exactly which universal human values belong in the governing documents of our future machines. It's a question that goes so far beyond code and engineering. So, I'll leave you to ponder this. Exactly whose ethical principles should govern tomorrow's superintelligence?